What is up, everyone on YouTube? And today we're going to be talking about the newly released Moonlight 5-star unit, Sea Phantom Politis, the Dark Ranger. Now, her animations look amazing, and she is actually a very powerful unit. And we're just going to be talking about if you guys want to pull for her, if she's worth your pity, and how strong she actually is. So let's actually look at her skills really quick. So if you look at her skills, you're going to see her S3, her biggest skill in my opinion, is going to be an AoE enrage buff for your team, and also it will dispel 2 buffs from all enemies and also decrease their speed for 2 turns before pushing their CR back. And as you guys can see with the soul burn, you can actually use 20 souls to ignore effect resist, so this will work even against soul weavers, which is super annoying. And this is a very powerful skill. One, because rage buff, it's like vigor, but instead of defense it gives you speed. And Rage was actually recently buffed to give you 20% attack and speed now instead of 10% I believe it was before. And this is just super strong because the Rage effect works very well with the secondary effect of this Fanatic Ball S3 skill, because you also will push back the enemy by 20% CR and also push their speed down with the debuff, meaning that you're going to cycle very quick. If you're running an aggressive team that's pretty fast, what will end up happening is you'll most likely be lapping the enemy if they're pretty slow, and you can even get like 2 turns before they take 1 on each unit, which is actually crazy. And if you are running against a faster team, if your Politis actually gets this off, it really messes up their speed tuning, because some of your faster units might also cut their units and so forth. So extremely powerful S3. It's like Polius but more offensive, I'd say. Polius gives you defense with vigor and also puts attack down on the enemy. This one just gives you extra speed and attack, of course, and will also just push their speed back. So a much more aggressive version of Polius, but still very powerful. And it makes it so that she's very good in cleave teams. She's very good in normal teams against slower teams. It's very powerful because you can actually, cycle and lap them or run over, and just a very powerful unit overall. Now that being said, she does have counters because her S3 is a non-attack skill, similar to Polius. She can get countered by Politis, she can get countered by Green Celine, she can get countered by anything faster than her. Her base speed isn't the fastest in the game, so you have to be worried about that. But overall, just a super powerful unit just based off this S3. This S3 also synergizes very well with Janua, the newly released Fire Thief, who is pretty strong, right? Because if you actually have Enraged, which is usually given to him from his passive, his S2, once you get hit low enough, what actually happens is your S1 will chain into your S3, and your S1 gives you attack buff or greater attack buff, so it makes your S3 hit literally 25k. This hits super hard, and the splash is nice as well because it scales with attack. And just having a source of rage besides your passive just makes him super powerful, because the problem that Janua faces is that people just ignore him, and he can't actually really do anything after his first S3. And then once they do stun him, that's when they proc his passive so that he actually can't, utilize it. And with ML Politis, you actually have a source of enrage or rage, so it makes it so that right off the bat you can actually just chain your S1, and this makes ML Politis and Janua super strong in Guild Wars offense. They just completely wipe the floor with a lot of defense teams because they just combo so well together. Also, because ML Politis has a dual attack on her S1, you're bringing the greater attack buff Janua, which is just super powerful, and he does a ton of damage there. So, just a very powerful combo. It makes a lot of units stronger than they already are, and Janua is one of them. Another unit that actually pairs well with her, especially in World Arena, is a Tywin, because you're going to see when he is enraged, he actually ignores effect resist with his S1 and S2. And the way he actually gets rage is when an ally gets debuffed, right? And after he gets attacked. And you can play around this very easily in RTA by just not attacking him, right? Or putting debuffs. But the thing is, when he does proc that enrage, and if you have ML Politis, she'll just give it to him off the bat, then he will ignore effect resist for a 1-turn stun and a 2-turn defense break, which is crazy. If he ever gets enraged and uses his S3, you kind of just lose, honestly. Same thing with his S1, it's a provoke, which is super annoying, so he can actually just, lock down soul weavers and even knights to actually stop them from, using their utility, which is very powerful. So it's another unit that actually pairs super well with ML Politis, and because ML Politis has that AoE rage for her team, it opens up a lot of combos. Now, of course, there's other units that use rage as well, such as like Teiyu or Clarissa, but I just picked the 2 most common ones. I don't want to go down the entire list. But all you need to know is this rage ability makes it so that she can synergize with some other units very well. And even without the synergies, rage itself right now is just a very strong buff. that increased speed is crazy powerful, especially because you also decrease the enemy speed with your S3. So very good synergy in that S3 for herself, for her team, and rage users. Next, we have her S2. So this S2 is super strong as well. You're going to see it's a built-in guiding light. So you have the stealth at the start of the battle, and also at the end of the turn, you'll get stealth if you don't have unbuffable on yourself. And this makes it so that you actually take less damage from AoE, which is very nice in itself. It gives her some mitigation because she can't actually be targeted with a single target unless you take this off. And also because you can dodge a lot of openers such as Zio, Assassin Sid, anything with single target she can dodge because she has that stealth, she can't be targeted. So she's a counter to Zio. And like I said, the mitigation is very nice as well. It makes her a lot more tankier than you expect as a ranger. Also, you're going to see that she decreases the amount of resources gained by the enemy by 50%. This is all resources, including fighting spirit, focus, right? So it makes her very strong because a lot of the top units for PvP are going to be using resources, right? You have like Lionheart Zermia using fighting spirit, ML Bologna, Lone Crescent Bologna, Fighting Spirit, Navy Captain Landy, Abyss Lufine, all use Fighting Spirit. They're probably the top 4 damage dealers, right? They all use Fighting Spirit. Even some utility units such as like Urban Shadow Shu, who's not really utility, she's kind of just like broken, also uses Focus. You have like Ocean Breeze Luca and so forth, so it makes it so that she counters a lot of those units. And even Ocean Breeze Luca can't really deal with the Phantom Politis well because she doesn't get enough focus after Politis uses her S3 because of this passive. So it makes it so that her S2 doesn't actually work most of the time, which makes it super hard to use her. So you can see Phantom Politis really counters a lot of those resources using units, which is super strong right now because a lot of the top units actually use resources. Next, we have her S1. It's a single target attack that will dispel 1 buff. And when you're actually enraged, you'll trigger a dual attack from the ally with the highest attack. So it makes it so that you S3, it's a 4-turn cooldown, and then you have 2 turns of dual attacks, so it's still very strong. And then you only have 1 turn of downtime where you don't have a dual attack or you're not S3ing, which makes it so that all of her turns, or I guess 75% of her turns, are very meaningful, and it's just really powerful, right? If you bring a unit that's enraged, right, it's going to do a ton more damage because first you have that attack buff, and it's a forced dual attack from the ally with the highest attack, so it's very strong. Way better than Conquerlius because you can actually choose which unit you want to bring most of the time, whereas Conquerlius it's kind of RNG, and this is just super powerful, one of the best S1s in the game currently in the meta. So as you guys can see, she's a pretty strong unit. I think she definitely is a must pull. You definitely want to use her pity on her if you have it ready because sure she does have some counters like Green Celine, Fire Politis, stuff like that, but she just synergizes so well with some units like Janua and Ambitious Tywin and make them pretty OP, I'd say, honestly. And also because of the fact that she counters resource users, right? And this is a passive that will always be good. You can't really power creep this, right? Because resources will always be a part of the game. There's so many units that use resources already, and in the future there probably will be more. So because of that, this passive will always have good value, and the built-in guiding light is just insane as well. You can actually put her on so many more artifacts now. Usually rangers that want to open are always on guiding light, like Nogwul, Lua, and stuff like that, Briar Witch's Area. But because you have it built in, you can even use something like this one, Spatio-Temporal Fan, to give another unit stealth. You can use Glow Wings for a barrier, right? You have so many other options, right? You can even run Proof of Valor if you wanted. You can even run, I think it's this one, Infinity Basket maybe? Yeah, you'll actually increase attack of all allies except for the caster by 20% when you actually use dual attacks, right? Which is very nice with their S1, obviously, because you force dual attacks, so it'll actually make your S1s hit harder. A lot of different builds, a lot of crazy things you can do with her. I think she's a very powerful unit, and right now it's a very good time to pull her because we have Asaria, who's a very good PvE unit if you don't have her. Also, this imprints for Briar Witch's Area and Summertime Asaria, both of which are very good units. I say Briar Witch's Area is a very powerful unit, right? And Summertime Asaria is mostly for PvP cleavers. But Briar Witch's Area, very strong to use imprints for. And also because we have one of the best artifacts in the game also running, Ulbrus Ritual Sword. So I definitely think this banner is something you want to pull for. See Phantom Politis is great, and honestly this week's rotation is crazy good compared to next week's. And honestly, even though this 4-star unit, Assassin Cartuja, is pretty bad, he's only really used for evasion teams to cheese. Honestly, this unit just makes up for it, and honestly this normal hero and artifact are super good as well. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys are actually pulling for her, or if you are saving for the next ML unit like ML Senya. And as always, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.